This is episode 25 of Mystery Meats Fine Dining Podcast. Welcome to San Jose, California.
This is Mystery Meats Fine Dining Podcast, helping foodies discover new restaurants and new friends. Here's your host, the founder of Mystery Meat, Seth Ressler.
Hello, welcome to Mystery Meats Fine Dining Podcast. This is the podcast for foodies who love travel and travelers who love food. I'm your host, Seth Ressler. Here's how it works. Every week, we go to a different city and we talk to a local food expert, usually a blogger, sometimes it's a food event organizer, sometimes it's a chef, and we find out about the culinary scene in their city. This week, we're doing our very first live in-person one. I'm very excited about it. We're going to go fine dining in San Jose. We're talking to Nak No, who runs the San Jose food blog. Nak, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we're going to talk to you a little bit about your blog. We're going to find out about the culinary scene in San Jose. We're going to get a restaurant recommendation from you, and then we're going to play Out of the Frying Pan, which I know you're a little nervous about.
I know, but it sounds good.
So first, tell me a little bit about how you started your blog.
So I basically started the blog after I got out of undergrad. That's when I started working, and I had a little bit more purchasing power and started dining out and
Purchasing power meaning you got a real job, right?
Yes, I had an income and I was able to spend it. So that's a lot different from, college ramen days. So that's when I started documenting what I ate. And I went to UC Davis for undergraduate. So I moved back home to San Jose and I started dining out around here and documenting. And every time I took a trip or a vacation, I also documented any of my travels as well. So that's how it got started.
So I'm excited to talk to you about San Jose because I grew up here, but I left for college. And I came back recently because my family's here. But I gotta say that I actually don't know that much about the dining scene here because I've just recently come back and because you grow up in a place, you're not 21, you don't go out on your own, you don't have disposable, purchasing power, I guess.
Right.
So now I have purchasing power, so now I need to find out where to go. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. Before we talk about San Jose, you've got a trivia question for me about the city.
Right.
So hit me.
So there is a popular Vietnamese deli shop that started in San Jose. It's still headquartered in San Jose, and it's very well known now. I think they have a couple different branches in other states. And I was wondering if you knew the name of that deli shop.
Popular Vietnamese deli shop.
Yes.
It started here in San Jose.
Yes.
How long ago?
Decades ago. I don't really know.
So I should know this because I grew up here.
It's been around here for a while.
So now, I should feel really bad if I don't know the answer to this one. Popular Vietnamese deli shop that started here in San Jose. All right, I got to think about that. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
For people who don't know the geography of the Bay Area at all, they've heard of San Francisco and they've seen a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. Let's describe the Bay Area a little bit as a whole for them.
Okay.
So you've got San Francisco, and that is right at the entrance of the bay.
Correct.
And it's on the south side of the entrance. It's on the south side of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
And then you go north and you hit things like Napa Valley and all that.
Yeah, and Marin County is up there. Yeah.
Right. And then if you go to the East Bay, which is... the Bay Area is a big place, but you go to the East Bay, the big city there is Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland, Union City, Hayward, that little cluster.
Berkeley's over there, all that. And then if you go to the South Bay, and we're an hour south of San Francisco and Oakland, you hit San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
And when people talk about Silicon Valley, what are they talking about, really?
San Jose is really the heart of Silicon Valley. A lot of the big companies you hear about, though, when you think of Silicon Valley are Google, Apple. So Google is in Mountain View, which is between San Jose and San Francisco.
Yeah, just a little north of here.
Yeah, Apple is in Cupertino, which is a little northwest of San Jose. Yep. So when people hear those big companies, that's what they think is really Silicon Valley. But San Jose is a huge part of it because there's a lot of semiconductor companies here. There are a lot of other tech companies here that are not internet-based.
And semiconductor companies are important because we should point out that Silicon Valley used to have silicon in it.
Yeah.
It used to be computer chips before it was about, apps where you throw sheep at people.
Yes.
And mafia wars, right? So this is really, like you said, the heart of it. And you drive around San Jose and you see things like eBay and Yahoo in this area and all that. Netflix, all the big tech companies that you've heard of, you see in this area.
I think when we're looking at consumers, they recognize the internet brands because that's what they're exposed to. But a lot of the big companies are business to business, and you might not necessarily deal with them. I mean, we talked earlier about Applied Materials and Xilinx, and it's like nobody's heard of those companies, right? But they're huge here too.
Right, absolutely. So, I mean, this is a huge city, and it's very spread out. I mean, it's very suburby.
It is. Geographically, it's very big, and it's a little bit amoeba-shaped in a way. And
talk to me a little bit about the demographics. Who lives here?
So because, as we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of high-tech companies, and there's a higher proportion of male employees in the high-tech.
I have noticed.
So there's a lot of male engineers. And the demographic of San Jose, it's actually, there's a term called Man Jose, because there's so many more males here than there are females. It's actually kind of a difficult dating scene for men as well because there's so much competition.
Tell me about it.
But right, that's where the term Man Jose comes from. So, and it's also very suburban, so there's a lot of families as well.
Yes. And the other thing I would say, especially coming from the East Coast recently, the diversity here is amazing in terms of different populations. I mean, you've got just about every ethnicity you could ask for here.
Right. But from what I've noticed, it's more of a salad bowl rather than a melting pot because different neighborhoods will have a higher concentration of different ethnicities. But I haven't seen as much mixing as I would really like to see.
Right.
Especially because I grew up in a densely African American, Mexican American, and Asian area. And, Willow Glen is a different makeup as well. And even Almaden Valley is different.
Sure.
It's very much a salad bowl.
Right.
It's diverse, but it's segregated as well.
Right. Yeah. And so because of that, I think you will see a lot of enclaves. Like, this is a place where you will hear 5 or 6 different languages in the course of the day, and you will find neighborhoods where things are written in different languages and it's not just Spanish. I mean, there's a lot of different languages here. So cool. Well, let's talk about what all that means for the food scene then. So what does all that mean for the food scene?
So there's a lot of great hole-in-the-wall places, but because there are different neighborhoods with different ethnicities, you figure out what you want to eat that day, and then you go to the neighborhood that provides the best food for that. So like one neighborhood is the corner of King and Tully Road has all the Vietnamese and Chinese food you could ever ask for. So if you want like a Vietnamese sandwich, that's where you go. But in Santa Clara on El Camino, that's where all the great Indian and Korean food is. So if you want Indian Korean food, you go there.
Let's say I'm in San Jose for a conference, tech conference, B2B conference, something like that. What areas would you suggest that somebody go check out?
Well, I'm assuming if you're here for a conference that you would be put downtown somewhere.
Probably.
Because that's where all our conference centers are at. San Pedro Market just opened up. I think it's really great. I think for a tourist, that would be a good introduction into San Jose. There is a Vietnamese spring roll shop there. It's just a big market where different eateries have opened up. People come there to drink at night, and there's live music sometimes.
So I'm amazed at how much downtown has changed in the 15 years that I was gone, because there was nothing really downtown when I was a kid, and there's a lot of restaurants that have popped up down there.
Yeah, I mean, I've only moved back home for 6 years now, and even in the 6 years, I've seen a lot of changes as well. When I turned 21 and I first started going out downtown, it was not a safe place to go out. Like every other week, you would hear a stabbing or a shooting at so-and-so club. And the clubs were always changing names because they didn't want to be associated with whatever crime had just happened the last month. But now I'm seeing a lot less of that, and just the type of nightlife and the type of restaurants and happy hours that are offered there. I feel a lot safer walking around downtown now. I don't know why, but I feel it.
Come to San Jose. You're much less likely to get shot now.
than 6 years ago.
Let's talk about some of the foodie events that go on in San Jose.
One of the latest trends I've seen in the last couple years is food trucks. And this isn't just San Jose. This is, nationwide I've seen it, and I'm really glad that it's hit San Jose as well. A couple years ago, it was just you would follow a food truck on Twitter or Facebook and see where they're at, just come there for dinner or lunch. But in the past, I think a year and a half, they've really consolidated and would have food truck festivals. So Movable Feast is the big one around here, and they have a dinner festival. a couple nights a week, and you just check out the Facebook page. They'll tell you where they're going to be at. It's usually a couple location that they keep coming back to, and that's great. I think a lot of people just come there for a great dinner sometimes.
Oh, very cool. I love the food trucks. I think it's so cool that this is going on in so many different places. And then we were talking before about food trends, and you mentioned something that I had not heard of, which is this roti bun craze.
Oh, so technically I would say that kind of quote unquote went out of style last year, but I still really love it. There's a frozen yogurt shop called Honeyberry. I mean, they're a frozen yogurt shop, but most people go for this roti bun, which is a sweet baked bun that's circumference-wise probably about the size of your palm.
Okay.
And a lot fluffier. But it's just, you can get cream cheese filling inside, or you can get, I think there's a butter one, but I love plain.
Yeah.
So it's just a sweet bun, and it has kind of a crusty top. And for some reason, it just got really popular. Everybody was bringing it into work for breakfast, or if you were in class, you brought it in and shared it with your classmates. It's just, I still love it.
Nice. So we can still go get that somewhere?
Yes,
All right.
It's still available.
All right, good to know. All right, so we are going to talk about a restaurant recommendation that you have here in the South Bay. It's a steakhouse. This is and we should point out, this is the first restaurant we've talked about on the podcast that has a Michelin star. So
is it?
Yes.
Oh,
so,
I didn't know.
Yes, it's a fine pick. So we're going to talk about that in just a second.
Okay.
Before we get to Knox's restaurant recommendation, I want to make sure everybody knows what Mystery Meat is. It's a social dining group that we started in the city of Boston back in 2010. Basically, it's a bunch of foodies who get together to have a great meal, but there's a catch. They don't find out where they're going until 24 hours in advance. So you get some clues, but other than that, when you buy your tickets, you don't know where you're going to be eating or who you're going to be eating with. All you know is that they're going to be foodies just like you, adventurous foodies, people who are really open to trying new things. And so you wind up getting there and having a great meal with a lot of great people and having a great conversation that revolves entirely around food. Now, I bring it up because we're doing our very first Mystery Meat dinner in San Jose, California on February 5th. Very exciting. So if you'd like to join us, head over to the Mystery Meat website, mysterymeat.org. Click the big orange button that says Get an Invitation and sign up. Check the box that says San Jose, and of course we will send you an invitation to our San Jose one. We've also got Mystery Meat dinners going on in the cities of Boston, Seattle, San Francisco, and we're starting them up in new cities all the time. So if you want to start one in your city, just go over there. Like I said, click the big orange button that says Get an Invitation, sign up. When we see a bunch of people who are interested in your town, we'll start doing them there as well.
All right, we're talking to Knock No, who runs the San Jose food blog. We're talking about the culinary scene here in San Jose and really the entire South Bay, which is sort of the Silicon Valley area. And you had a trivia question for me.
Yes.
Which was what?
What is the name of a popular Vietnamese deli shop that started in San Jose?
What is the name of a popular and it's spread to other places now?
Yes, I know it's in Texas for sure. I think a couple other states.
All right, popular Vietnamese. I'll be honest, I have no idea.
It's Lee's Sandwich. Have you heard? Yeah, right?
If I picked the last
name and just guessed. It's really only the only one.
So what, tell me about Lee's Sandwich. What do they serve? And
So Lee's started, the very first location was on King Road in, I think I mentioned earlier, King and Tully's, where you get all your Vietnamese food. So Lee started on King Road, and you can get the very popular banh mi baguette sandwich, which is now a food truck craze as well.
My brother-in-law raves about these.
Yeah,
so banh
but those are overpriced.
Okay, but those are Vietnamese.
They're Vietnamese with a French influence.
Okay.
France colonized Vietnam for a long time, and a lot of their food influence got into our culture as well, and the baguette is one of the huge influences that we took.
Gotcha.
So it's spread with pâté and a mayonnaise, which is also probably French influence. And the original one is cured meats with some pickled vegetables, and that's all in a baguette, and it's really delicious. But there's,
nice.
Barbecued meat now.
Yep.
There's chicken. There's any option you want. There's veggie. So Lee's started here. I know they expanded to Southern California. I know they're in Texas. But they basically follow where there's a huge Vietnamese population, which would be California and Texas.
All right, very cool. So if you're in Texas, go to Lee's. All right, let's talk about your restaurant recommendation. I asked you to pick a great restaurant in the South Bay. Tell me what you chose.
I chose Alexander's Steakhouse in Cupertino. They have 2 locations. Cupertino is the original one. It was opened in 2005. And I heard they just opened a San Francisco location.
So tell me why you chose this restaurant. What kind of food and what's the cuisine there?
Alexander's is a steakhouse, but there's also a little bit of Japanese fusion going on in some of their side dishes and some of the other dishes I had. At the time that I tried it, the executive chef was Jeffrey Stout. I hear that it's in the last 6 months it's changed.
Okay, so he's no longer there.
I don't think he's there anymore, but it should still be the same.
But the food's still great.
The food should still be
They
great.
haven't lost the Michelin star. Don't worry about that.
I know.
So it's a steakhouse with Japanese influence. So when I walk in, what's the vibe? I mean, what does it feel like? The decor and everything in there.
It's pretty dimly lit. It's very warm and welcoming. And on your left-hand side, there's a whole display of steak. You can see all the cuts.
The different cuts of meat. Yeah.
So they're basically showing you everything fresh. And
This is a high-end place. I mean,
Yes.
this is a special occasion kind of,
Yes.
Anniversary, new job, graduation kind of place.
Yes.
All right, cool. So we sit down to eat. And what do you recommend for an appetizer?
what I had that I still miss it to this day. They're flash fried shishito peppers, the Japanese peppers. And it's sort of like for every 10, you'll get 1 spicy one.
So say that again because I totally missed that.
The name of the pepper is shishito.
Okay.
So you get this bowl of them. You don't know which one's spicy, which one's not, but they're all great. And it's flash fried. And I think there's, it tasted like a hoisin sauce with some sort of rice crackers on top.
And then what about main dish? What do you recommend?
So the main steak, the best one was the Australian Wagyu steak. It was like melt in your mouth. The portion wasn't huge, but it was probably the best steak.
The Australian Wagyu.
Yeah.
And is this a place where you order sides separately?
Yes.
So are there any sides that you recommend?
There was this great soup that I had. It was a squash soup. So that was great. I had a gazpacho that was great. Everybody really loves the hamachi shooter shot. It's hamachi sashimi. And I don't know what sauce he puts into it, but they're little pearls of something, and then
Wow.
so it comes in a shot glass.
Okay.
Piece of hamachi in a shot glass with some
And
sauce.
hamachi, for people who don't know, is...
A sashimi fish.
Okay, so it's a cut of fish in a shot glass.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's really popular there. That's a side I would recommend.
All right, very cool.
And actually, back to the point of the ambiance, when you walk in, there will be a mix of people on their anniversaries and business dinners. There's a lot of business groups. That's what I noticed when I was there. I mean, we were a group of coworkers. I saw a bunch of other people in suits, probably taking out customers or clients. And
Right.
you see that a lot, and that reflects Silicon Valley a lot.
Mark Zuckerberg's over in the corner, changing the Instagram privacy policy over there. Yeah, that's we know how it is.
Right.
So the guy who was picking up the check was the one who chose the wine.
Right. I didn't choose the wine on this occasion.
What about dessert?
The dessert, we had almost everything, but the one that really stood out to me was the raspberry chocolate souffle. Nice and fluffy,
Nice.
held its shape.
So, and at the end of every meal at Alexander's, there's a special treat?
Right. So they have this green apple cotton candy, and it's probably the size of my head.
That's a lot of cotton candy.
It is, and it's great.
I'm not saying you have a big head or anything. I'm just saying that's a lot of cotton candy.
Actually, it's bigger than my head now that I think about it. Yeah, it's great. It's like a subtle hint of green apple, and it's a really light, sugary taste, and everybody gets one.
Nice.
And it's sort of like when you go to Alexander's, that's what you want to tell people.
And if we're picking up the check, if we don't have, we're not cutting big business deals.
Right.
What's a meal going to run for?
It'll be $200 plus per person.
So
it's an expensive meal.
Find somebody with an expense account.
Or wait till you get to go eat for a business dinner somehow.
Right. Thank you. That's a great recommendation. Alexander's Steakhouse up in Cupertino. Are you ready to play a game?
I think I am.
This game is called Out of the Frying Pan. Here's how it works. I'm going to ask you for a series of rapid-fire recommendations. Just tell me the first thing that pops into your head.
Okay.
There's no wrong answer. But if you get any wrong, you owe me $100 billion.
I owe you a meal at Alexander's.
Same thing, right? All right, you ready to play?
Yes.
Okay. We talked about the big ethnic mix here in Silicon Valley. Tell me where the best place to get Spanish food.
Spanish food. La Vix downtown. Actually, they have more locations, but the burrito there with the orange sauce is just called orange sauce. Nobody really knows what's in it, but everybody loves the La Vix burrito with the orange sauce. ask for the squeeze bottle and just pour generously.
All right. What about Vietnamese? Where would you go for that?
I always go to delis. My favorite is actually not Lee's Sandwich. It's Hung Lang down the street from Lee's, and I love the shredded chicken sandwich there.
There's also a lot of ethnic markets in the area. Is there a place that you go to shop when you are looking for particular ethnic foods?
Everybody goes to Lion Supermarket. There's 2 locations. It's huge. It'll mostly carry everything you need in terms of Filipino, Vietnamese, Chinese, some Japanese, and a little bit of Korean food.
You talked a lot about how this is a happy hour city.
Mm-hmm.
So where's a good place to go for happy hour?
Anywhere with craft beers and small pub bites. I recently went to Original Gravity.
Where's that?
Downtown on 2nd Street.
Okay.
So they have like all different types of sausages. You just get a sausage on a hot dog bun, and that'll be dinner. Or like a fancy grilled cheese and a craft beer. I don't know if this is technically happy hour, but I would go there during happy hour time.
Where's a good place to go for an original cocktail?
I had a cocktail that I really liked at San Pedro Square Market. It was called the Fallon's Revenge, and it had cucumber and jalapenos in it. So I would go there. I would recommend that drink. I don't know if they have it anywhere else. I've only had it there.
Yep.
But I would go there.
All right, good. And finally, if you are one of the guys in this city and you are looking to find some females, where do the females go?
The females would go to any of the clubs downtown. Santana Row. Rosie McCann's is one of my favorite places. I think Santana Row is your better bet.
All right. Good to know, because, it's not that I have a
It's
personal
Manway.
interest in this question. All right. Knock No, thank you so much for talking to us. Your restaurant recommendation was Alexander's Steakhouse. You can find the Cupertino location at 10330 North Wolf Road, and you can find them online at alexandersteakhouse.com. What about you? If we want to find your blog online or follow you on social media, how can we do that?
My blog website is www.sanjosefoodblog.com. I'm also under the same San Jose Food Blog handle for Twitter and Facebook and Pinterest. So you can find me in any of those venues.
All right. We'll look for that. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
My name's Seth Ressler. This has been the Mystery Meat Fine Dining Podcast. Couple of notes. If you want to come to a Mystery Meat dinner or want to have one in your city, go to mysterymeat.org. Click the big orange button. We are coming to San Jose February 5th, so please sign up and join us for that. You can find links to all the places that we mentioned on our website, mysterymeat.org. And while you're there, you can follow us on Twitter or on Facebook. Also, go to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast and write a review if you like it. And finally, if you are a food blogger or a food expert and you want to talk to us about the culinary scene in your city, all you have to do is go to mysterymeat.org, click the Contact Us link, and send us an email. We'd love to have you on. Thanks so much. Bye.
This has been Mystery Meat's Fine Dining Podcast. You can find links to the websites mentioned in this episode at mysterymeat.org/podcast. Thank you for listening.